Come on. There we go. Cool. Now we just have to wait for this screen. There we go. And we have to wait for this. And boom, there we go. Okay. And nope, that's not what I wanted. Where's the thing? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Now I think I got it all figured out. It's like I've just started doing this. All right, there you go. Well, welcome. I hope that you folks are doing well. Let's see here. We've got Morning from Quebec. Enjoy Friday's video. Well, that's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that there, Dragonfire. Season's greetings from Edinburgh, Scotland. There's a Formoroid Crusher on my painting desk today. Nice. I think Vince was working on that guy this last weekend when I was at Vinceycon. VJ Morph, how you doing? Air Viper, got a hot take. Just saw Avatar 2 visually. That's all I'm saying is that the best hope visually for a Space Marine movie would look like that. I was watching Luton's video about Space Marine 2, the video game, and that looks pretty good. Visually, graphic wise, the like actually in-game stuff. Lots of blood everywhere, which is different kind of, but it's it's chopping up Tyranids, so you're gonna get that. I'm gonna move this microphone a little closer. There we go. Let's see here. Season's greetings from White Markham, Ontario. We've been getting a lot of snow here. It just won't stop. Like, it's barely happening. Like, it happened a bunch on Wednesday. I don't know, we got 5-6 inches, and then it's just been constantly just sort of literally since Wednesday, I think. It's still doing it currently a little bit right now. Good morning from a groggy post-work Christmas party in Washington, D.C. I'm currently digging out from under all of my various Secret Santa gifts. I think I went overboard. Nice. Well, that sounds like fun. Let me see here. Good morning from the Rockies. Time-appropriate greetings from D.C. Good morning from Townsville. Good morning from snowy southern Ontario, assembling some Infinity Minis. GMG's new Infinity podcast has me all inspired to give it a go. Nice. Keep looking at that thumbnail and wishing Santa was flipping the robot bird. I don't think he is, though. Let's see here. Somewhere in the Everglades. Good morning. How you doing? Merry Christmas from Limerick, Ireland. Snow-covered mitten. How you doing, Chris? Let's see here. Early 6 a.m. in Alaska. Yeah, I bet so, yeah. Got our house about 3 years ago. Oh, that's hello from France, Detroit, Taipei, Germany, Saskatchewan. I always like saying Saskatchewan. I hope I'm saying it right. Morning, Uncle Adam from Dublin, Ireland, painting Cruel Boys and keeping an eye on the World Cup. Nice. Another Saskatchewan. Good day, checking in from South Ontario. How you doing? Cloudy Greece. Unseasonably cold Tennessee. We're getting a lot of unseasonably cold here in America right now. From what I understand, like this upcoming week, we're going to have some pretty cold temperatures. Nothing crazy cold, I guess. But why is my closed captioning on? I'm going to turn that off. Oh, now I lost my window. There we go. Isle of Wight. New Mexico. Whoops. Oh, we scrolled. Finland. Starting on Drop Fleet Commander, a break from 28mm. Interesting. Cool. Good morning from a beautiful snow-covered Junction City, Wisconsin. Glad I made the show. How was Vinceycon Wednesday? Left sometime around lunch and got there probably right around 5-ish. And Sam was not on the same flight, but his flight got there about the same time. And so we were waiting at the airport for a little bit. And then Vince drove up with John Nenas and picked us up and then drove us back to his place. And then we went to, let's see, we went to a ramen place that night with Vince's lovely wife, Kathy. And then on Friday, Miniac showed up. He had flown in on Friday morning, like around 10 or something like that. And then we basically just kind of hung out and ate snacks and painted and built things and chatted and watched YouTube videos and listened to music and play tested the new game a couple of times. That was good. Vince and John were playing Magic the Gathering on and off here and there. Yeah, I played a little bit of Steam Deck once in a while on my, because I brought that along with me. But yeah, it was nice. They got three lovely dogs, three golden retrievers, Lyra, Penny, and Aspen. They're very nice. But yeah, so it was a good time. I flew back real early on Monday morning. Like my flight was at 7. Initially, it was at like 11:30, but then they moved it because that's how air travel is these days. But generally, the air travel was okay. But yeah, I built 6 squats, the League of Votan guys. I was going to try to build some of the Necromunda ones as well, but I kind of wasn't real happy with the sculpts. They're just like, so I'm thinking about what to do with them later. But these the ones for the League of Votan ones that I built are all going to be, I can use them for a bunch of different games, but I kind of like initially started by building a list for Space Weirdos. So these 6 models will be a 125 point list of Space Weirdos. And then I also built the competition piece that I'll be entering at the Capitol Palette at Nova Open in DC this upcoming end of August. And I even I ordered while I was there, I ordered a plinth, which showed up a couple days ago. So this is the plinth that model will stand on. But the model is built. It needs to still have some gap filling done here and there, and then I'll start working on it from there. So that was good. Let's see here. Morning from DFW, Texas. Queensland, Oklahoma. Slowly thawing London. Painting up a bunch of Wargames Atlantic Space Dwarves for my first game of Xenos Rampant tomorrow. Nice. Bremerton, Washington. Hope all are taking care of their mental health and doing self-care. Absolutely. I'm up to 15 inches of snow since Friday. Oof, that's a lot. They were threatening snow earlier, but I'll believe it when I see it and complain. Yeah. My son keeps asking me when it's going to start snowing for Christmas. I keep having to explain seasons and hemispheres to him. Yeah, no, I was having a conversation about that with my wife just recently. I mean, she knew about it, but we were just like, it's got to be so odd to be like, you know what I mean? Just to like, it's hot and it's Christmas. It's yeah. Coming from 2 lifelong Wisconsinites, I suppose that's probably a big thing there too. Searching My Mini Factory's winter sale for useful things. Nice. Morning from Hudson, Wisconsin. Howdy. Virginia Beach. Brisk, Georgia. Oh, and it scrolled again. I don't know why people can't make a chat window that works. It seems strange. Twitch sucks too, so you know what are you going to do. Rainy Warwick, England. How you doing? Good morning from High Point, North Carolina. We might get snow. All right, that's something. Tim Elvers, how you doing? Good day from Germany. Did I miss much? No, probably not. Let's see here. Austin, Texas, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. You are pronouncing Saskatchewan correctly. That's good to hear. Wichita, Kansas, because I enjoy doing it. So, you know. Good morning from a dog park in Michigan. Nice. Building nights while listening to your dulcet tones from Newcastle, England. Well, I appreciate that. Good morning and Merry Christmas from North Carolina. Last night I tried Grimdark Future Firefight with my girlfriend. Thank you for mentioning this game. I can finally have quick games with light rules next to Space Station Zero, which I already bought. Nice. That's good to hear, the kind GM. I'm glad that you like Grimdark Future Firefight. Absolutely. I do too. One thing that Sam and I talked about during Vinceycon was that we're going to get together and play more after the new year. We're going to play some Warcry. I think he might be building and painting the skinks from the new Sundered Fate box. I built and painted 3 of them that you saw in the video if you watched the video. But I think I might try to do the Jade guys. We were looking at the stats for the skinks and they seem underwhelming. And I'm sure there's some sort of, I don't know, some sort of synergy there that I'm not seeing because I'm not particularly good at games. But we were both just kind of like, they don't seem very powerful, but we'll see. Finishing up shopping in Peoria. FLGS doesn't open till noon. Well, yeah, that happens a lot. Let's see here. Completely forgot that it was Sunday. It is. Hello from Quebecistan. Hope the snow didn't reach you. I mean, we got some. Not a ton, though. We got like 5 inches. And then, like I said, it's just been constantly sort of just... You can't say it's been pissing snow, because that doesn't make any sense. It's been dusting snow since Wednesday, pretty much. I never knew Andy Chambers worked on Drop Fleet Commander. I'm more interested in checking it out now that I know that. Nice. Greetings from Barcelona. How you doing? Let's see here. Tried out one of the Drop Commander games at TMX. Any chance you remember which one it was? Was it ships fighting ships in the air, or was it people, little tiny people running around hitting each other on the ground? Because Drop Fleet Commander is the flying around in space one, and Drop Zone Commander is the one where you're down on the ground. And when I say space, I mean like kind of like high, well, like low orbit technically, I think. I've never played Drop Zone Commander. I did a demo of Drop Fleet Commander one time when I was at Valhalla, that wargame retreat thing in Utah that Wargamer Girl puts on. And yeah, a guy gave me a demo of Drop Fleet Commander. And it was interesting. It was very much like submarine combat, it felt like to me. Because, like, if you didn't do anything too weird, if you didn't use too much energy in any given round, it was really super hard for people to shoot at you because you weren't giving them enough of a signature for them to lock onto properly. So it's kind of like submarine combat a little bit, where I'm like, if I'm very quiet, they can't see me. Whoops. I bumped into the mic. But, yeah, that kind of stuff is interesting. But I don't know. I've never been quite completely struck by either of those games. Oops. Let's see here. It had buildings, so I think it might have been zone. Yeah, that makes sense. Morning from small town, Saskatchewan. Home from work for Christmas. Nice. Nice and cold in Huntsville, Alabama, too. Just back from leave and managed to make the live stream. Nice. It's nice going to the beach or the pool on Christmas morning. I can understand that. Especially as I get older. I am less and less enamored of the snow specifically, and the cold. But, you know, we're not going anywhere. So, yeah. Checking in from Avon, Indiana. Glad I caught the stream. Happy holidays. Let's see here. Have you seen Wargames Atlantic's new digital store on My Mini Factory? I don't think I have. I know that they were starting to do STLs, but I guess I haven't. I didn't notice. I kind of, for some reason, I thought they were going to sell them direct. But I should check on My Mini Factory and check that out. I might be painting my first orcs this morning. Suggestions? Green. Make sure to stock up on some green. Warwick is pronounced Warwick. Yeah, I figured it was one of those silent letter kind of situations that happens over there. I'm chuffed that I finished painting these 2 ancient tech marines and how to find some appropriate decals. I haven't done decals in a while. Just looking for some kill team proxies for Orc and IG. Any suggestions? Wargame Atlantic is a good place to look for stuff for proxying. Wargame or Wargames? It's either Wargame or Wargames Atlantic, but I would take a look at both of those for Imperial Guard. For Orcs, Cromlech. Cromlech makes a lot of Orc stuff, or Orc related stuff. Might be not a bad idea too. Santa is bringing me a lot of stuff. I'm back to the hobby after 25 years. I'm very excited. Well, that's good to hear, Willie. Nice. I can't remember if you've mentioned Sword Weirdos. Did you support? I did not. I'm going to pick it up once it goes live on Wargame Vault. That's it. Yeah. So I did not at the time, but I'm going to pick it up when it goes live on Wargame Vault. It totally hit its goal and all that kind of stuff. So. Good afternoon from sunny, rainy Manchester. First time I made the show live. Well, good to have you. I feel at loose end as all my gaming stuff is packed for the move. Yeah, no, I can understand that. Adeptus Ridiculous. How you doing? I want snow on exactly Christmas and no other day of the year. Like, I want it to be like about 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so just a bit under freezing. I want there to be some snow. Christmas is fine. Christmas Eve and Christmas, fine. And then it can stop. But, it's not how those things work. My wife is always like, well, we need the snow. Because it, covers up the plants and protects them from extreme cold and this and that. And I don't know, there's like reasons, science reasons probably, that like if we just didn't have any snow all winter, but we just had a regular winter with no snow, it would be bad for stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess. Oops. Let's see here. Good morning from the Pocket Dimension. How you doing, JP Got Rockets? I love Battletech Gothic. Probably Battlefleet Gothic, maybe? Battletech Gothic, that's interesting. Probably the game we played the most in around 98 and 2000. Decided to start painting my kill teams in a comic style. Nice. Am I the only person that thinks an accurate 40K/film series would be, I've got some minis finished, but I need to build and prime some more. The bases aren't done. Really excited for 40K series. I mean, that's, sure, I could see that. Probably everybody has heard that there was news that came out, I think, on Friday that Warhammer Heartthrob, Henry Cavill, and Amazon are working together with Games Workshop, and they're going to make, I think, a TV series. Well, I mean, a series. It's going to, well, you'd watch it probably on your television, but it'll come through Amazon Prime or whatever. No idea when or what or any of those things. Evidently, they're going to announce maybe a writer and a director soonish. So that's a step, because, I mean, honestly, like a lot of times companies will be like, we're buying the rights to that so we can turn it into a movie. And then people are like, oh, awesome, there's going to be a movie about such and such. And then they're like, well, I mean, no, not necessarily. We're going to buy the rights to it so somebody else can't make a movie, but that doesn't mean we're going to make a movie. I was talking about this in the Patreon show yesterday. There's a comic book written by a guy who's originally from Milwaukee called Scud, the Disposable Assassin. It's back from like the late 90s and early 2000s. And I liked it quite a bit. And I think it was Oliver Stone's production company bought the movie rights to it. And I'm like, Oliver Stone's going to make a Scud, the Disposable Assassin movie? Well, no, never did. But, you know, Rob Schraub, who wrote and drew the comic, he got paid, you know, because they were like, well, we get to make a movie if there's a movie, if we decide to make one. And he's like, cool, I will sign that check. And on the back, you know, endorse the check. So anyway, I'm not sure. We'll see if it happens or when it happens or whatever. Personally, my hope is it's Eisenhorn, and Big Hank there plays Eisenhorn. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll see. Did I hear it right? Is there a gaming con in Utah? Well, I mean, there's a wargaming retreat called Valhalla, which you can look up. They usually do a Kickstarter every year. It takes place about an hour and a half drive east of SLC, I believe. Kind of by Heber City, kind of like outside of Heber City, if I remember correctly. And it is this huge, massive log cabin, 25,000 square feet. It's like the biggest, it's the largest privately owned log cabin in North America. Has a giant pool, all kind inside, the whole thing. Anyway, and so there's a Kickstarter, and you can come, and then you're there basically. It's not cheap, but you're there for like nearly an entire week, and you get fed 3 meals a day. It's like it's all included, and it's a whole deal. And I've been to it a couple of times as an invited fancy pants guest, which is nice. It's usually in October-ish. Lately, it's been over my mom's birthday, so I haven't been able to go. And then, of course, there was the pandemic and all that too. But yep. Wargamer Girl here on YouTube, she and her husband kind of run the whole thing, so you can keep an eye on it through those words, hopefully, Google search and that kind of stuff. What's worse weather to prime with Rattlecan, cold or wind? Wind you can mitigate by just getting out of the wind. Like you could get into, like, if you've got like a garage, or you can get behind a part of the building or something like that, that can help. Cold, I think, is a little bit worse. Let's see here. Have you covered the Content Creator Summit? Looking forward to hearing what the stuff you can share. The Content Creator. Are you talking about Vinceycon? You mean just like hanging out at Vince's house for a weekend? I would not say it was a Content Creator Summit per se. We hung out, had some cocktails, ate a lot of cheese, corn, and caramel corn. And also artichoke dip. Not at the same time. That's... no. I had more Triscuits than I've had in a while. It was a good time. We had a good time. There was actually one point where we were kind of talking about, like, I thought what we should try to do, we got in this conversation about the different types of videos in wargaming out there on YouTube. And I thought it would be interesting because Vince and I have talked about this in the past about a taxonomy of types of videos. Like, oh, this is educational, this is entertainment, this is spectacle, this is conflict, you know, things like that. And we talked about it, and we have a whiteboard right there. I mean, it's, you know, Vince's place, but we never did that. So, so there you go. Best part of Vinceycon? I mean, it was just hanging out with the guys. It was a lot of fun. I'm in the same boat. Everything's packed up, closing on a new house on the 20th. Naturally, you feel motivated and creative when everything is sealed in boxes. Oh yeah, that's that like when you're at work, you're like, man, I want to get home and paint, and you get home and then you don't paint. That happens sometimes too. And or if you're like, man, I want to paint because all my stuff is packed up in boxes and impossible to get at, and then when you get it all set up again, then yeah. I don't believe that snow is a good argument. We've had plenty of cold winters with no snow in Southern Illinois, and we were never without plants and weeds. I don't know that it necessarily kills them all outright and we die. I think it has something to do with the robustness of the plants. Like, I have seen bushes, like evergreen style bushes, that when we get like really cold and not enough snow, and they will croak, you know, like, because then, you know, spring comes and they're all brown and gross. So it does happen a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Hard to say. Space Marine movie / series is a horrible idea. Yeah, I don't want to watch a bunch of Space Marines run around and do Space Marine things. That doesn't seem very exciting, frankly. Yeah, Eisenhorn and Ravnor are my two favorite series of books within the whole Warhammer 40k thing. I think they're the most kind of human interest stories, because you've got different characters who've got different things going on. You got the retinues for each of them. You got all kinds of stuff. I'm hoping that's what they do, but we have no idea. My mother described snow once. It sounded more like when you clean frost out of the freezer and toss it out in the backyard. Most unimpressive. It's a little bit like that sometimes, yeah. Let's see. I bought myself the Alpha Strike starter box for Christmas. Don't really have any other desires except for some of those Wargames Atlantic figure sets, particularly Lizardmen and the Grognards. Lizardmen are a lot of fun. The Wargames Atlantic Lizardmen are pretty dope. You can still paint some Christmas goblins for family. Oh, there you go. It's a good idea to put bags of leaves on those trees. I can see that. Can't stay, got to run errands, just giving love. Happy holidays, happy new year, and happy hobbying. Absolutely, 12 Neef. Good to see you, and happy holidays as well to you. Snow is an insulator. There's a guy that I've watched on YouTube in the past who's like an outdoorsy dude and a filmmaker, and I'm not super outdoorsy, so I don't know why I ended up watching him. I've watched him a bunch, like subscribe to his channel. His name is Levi Allen. And he did a video, I think, last year in the winter, and he lives up in like Vancouver, maybe? No, British. I don't know. Over on the West Coast, kind of north of Seattle, in Canada. And he went hiking and like camping in the snow, and he like built like an igloo and was outside, like slept outside on top of a mountain or something like that, and like, I don't know, -20 or something like that, and windy, you know. But yeah, it's built an igloo, so it was roughly okay. And, you know, he got back home again and edited the video, so he wasn't dead, so that's good too. But yeah, it's interesting. The Druidic Monk says Amazon was supposedly working on an Eisenhorn series, and maybe this is the next step in that. I mean, that, you know, let's hope. Am I strange to think that Warhammer Fantasy would make a better series than 40k? I mean, you know, you can have the feelings you're having, for sure. That's not weird. I don't know. I think because generally the 40k universe is more popular, I could see where the producers and whatnot and everything, the showrunners would be like, let's do the more popular thing. Like maybe down the road, if this becomes huge and becomes a big deal, then maybe they make a fantasy one as well. And because that's the thing, is like there's not a lot of properties out there that have both aspects to them. You know, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Star Trek, like you can kind of move around in the timelines here and there a little bit. you know, and do some stuff like that. I mean, like they could technically make like a Knights of the Old Republic Star Wars movie or TV series or something like on Disney. They could do that, but people would be like, so where's Luke Skywalker and stuff, you know? And then, but yeah, with Warhammer, you could, you know, if one of them gets popular, then you could be like, well, if you like that, maybe you like this, and then boom, you know, do both of them. It's possible. If it snowed everywhere but in my driveway and on the roads, I'd love it. Every once in a while that happens. Like every once in a while, the snow just sticks to the grass and doesn't, like it hits the ground, like the concrete and melts. It's usually in the earlier part of the season. Once we get to this part of the season, then that stops happening. We like a few days of freezing here. They say it helps kill ticks and fleas. Well, that's not a bad idea too. Let's see here. I like the snow. It makes my garden look like everyone else. There you go. They don't get much snow. Prince Rupert. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. First snowfall going out for a walk in it with the hush and the stillness, magical, but after that it sucks. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Yeah, when it's like the first snow of the year and you go outside and all that kind of stuff, if it's not too crazy cold or windy and everything gets real quiet and it's real, yeah, it is nice. But it, you know, by about late February, you're like, all right, I'm kind of done with this. Looking forward to a week off for Christmas, trying to get all my League of Votann miniatures painted up. Well, that's kind of nice. I wish I had a week off. That would be nice. I've been on winter exercises and lived in snow caves before. I've watched people do that too on YouTube. There was a dude who likes to camp in places you're not supposed to camp, like stealth camping. There's a bunch of people I think on YouTube that do that, and he like, you know, like when you're at a like a big parking lot, like at a Walmart or something like that, and they end up putting all the snow on one end, and then there's a giant, huge like berm of snow. He just went around to the backside of it and like burrowed into it, and then like slept there overnight just to make a video. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he has a house, but yeah, he was doing that for a video. Winter camping is great except for the half hour when you get up and have to figure out how to get dressed in your sleeping bag, and the last half hour when you get into the ice cold sleeping bag. Yeah, I can see that. Like, do people want to see Henry Cavill bald with 3 tacks in his forehead and a helmet on 95% of the movie? I wouldn't think so. There's already fantasy already out there. Game of Thrones, Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, etc. 40K fills a different niche. Yeah, to some degree. They are doing a Knights of the Old Republic TV series, I'm pretty sure. Interesting. Well, I mean, you know, Disney's going to just keep making Star Wars. Like the fact that there's not a Star Wars show running right now. I mean, admittedly, Andor just got done a little bit ago. But the fact that it's not just constantly like, I'm a little surprised that it's not Star Wars, Marvel, like maybe a week in between, but maybe not. Like the fact that they're just not constantly running is a little surprising to me. Like the fact that there's, I don't think a Star Wars nor a Marvel series going on. Let me know if I'm wrong. Right now on Disney Plus is a little surprising, you know, especially because like last year at Christmas they had the Hawkeye show going on, which was Christmas related and it was a thing. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. Seems like free advertising for GW launching 10th edition 40K next year. I mean, there's no chance, like literally no chance that this show will get done in the next 2 years, maybe 3. But yeah, it certainly won't be ready for summer. That's for sure. How's Diesel doing? Health looking good? Yeah, doing okay. I couldn't find him this morning. Like my wife left. She had to go do a thing. She was playing as a substitute in a friend's bell choir at a church or something. And so she had to leave kind of early. And then I was looking for Diesel before the show started, and I couldn't find him in his normal spots. And it turned out he's on the other side of there's a dining room table here, and he's on the other side of it, and he's up on one of the dining room chairs, which is pushed underneath the table, so he's just sleeping there, which he does that once in a while, but usually he's in this room over here sleeping on the couch, and he wasn't in there, and I was like, where'd he go? And I looked around a bunch and then finally found him, so he's doing fine. Stealth camping just sounds like homelessness. It does, but there's a lot of people on YouTube who do it just, I don't know. Steve Wallace is one of them. That's true. I don't know that the one where he dug into the big giant snow pile at Walmart, I think that was a different dude, but I've seen Steve Wallace a bunch of times. Yeah. As a Midwest man myself, but in Hawaii, can you have some Taco John's potato olays? Haven't had them in over a year. When was the last time I had potato olays? We have a Taco John's here in town, but I haven't gotten potato olays there in a while. I've been getting super nachos when I go lately. But potato olays are lovely, don't get me wrong. Does anyone think that 10th edition 40k could see a biggish lore shift to accommodate the cinematic 40k universe? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, maybe, but it seems unlikely, especially if they're going to stick with, if they're like, oh, hey, we're going to do Eisenhorn. Well, that's like, you know, that is what it is. And so I wouldn't think that they would change things too much, but I could be wrong. Come on. Come on. Anything? There we go. I don't know what happened. Like, I've got plenty of internet. We recently switched over to fiber, and it's fine. I think that XSplit, the program that I use, because the first thing that I noticed that something was wrong is a window popped up in XSplit and says, oh, your stream is done, or do you want to turn it up? It was like a weird, I don't know what the heck. So, yeah, that's fun. I hope that you folks are back or whatever. There we go. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so I don't know what that was. It'll be interesting to see whether this comes up as it being two streams separately or not. I don't know. I blame XSplit in this situation. All right. Let's see here. Light the incense and say the litanies. Sure. Good old YouTube receiving. Visually, the opening chapter of the Eisenhorn book is stunning. I think I read 6 hours after that chapter, just riveting. Then the fight against the Dreadnought was just pure fire. Yeah, I mean, the Eisenhorn books and the Ravnor books are my easily favorite Black Library books, completely. Gremlins, Minox chewing on the power cables, these are all potentials. XSplit don't get, got you. Yeah, I need to switch over, I think, to OBS or pretty soon. I use OBS for Twitch, but I still use XSplit up here. So I think I need to switch that over. It's okay, but you know, OBS is used by so many more people and whatnot. But yeah, have you had a chance to read the Beckman series? I haven't. No. Don't know if I missed it during the break. Do you have plans to check out Sword Weirdos by Garsky Games when it comes out? Like on Wargame Vault, and then I can just buy it direct or whatever, then I'm going to pick it up. But I did not do the Kickstarter. So does anyone know what happened to Peachy's channel, the painting phase? Looks like they were hacked this week. I saw some tweets basically of him like reaching out to YouTube saying, hey, could you guys give me my channel back? Like somebody, it did get hacked, I guess, somehow. And he said he had 2-factor authentication, but somehow his channel got hacked, which sucks real bad. So, yeah, I don't know if it's still, I don't know if he has it back yet. Now that I come to think of it, I'm making grits in the microwave. That's what caused the problem. Does anyone know? I read that one. Let's see here. Currently painting my Untamed Beast mini. My problem is that I promised to myself to keep the paint job simple, and then I find myself working on every small detail. Yeah, being a little strict with yourself in that situation is a good idea, because you can very easily just get to the point where you're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, and all of a sudden you've got 26 layers of glaze in, and you're like, well, I'm just gonna make this wing look a little bit better or whatever, and then yeah, that's sometimes, especially if you're really, I mean, again, if you are trying to paint something for competition, then that's a totally different story. But if you are not, then you know, you are just trying to get stuff on the table, then sometimes and if you're trying to do it quickly, if you're a person who's just like, I don't care how long it takes, I'm going to work on these guys and get them to the level that I like, again, not a problem. It's all about what's your concern. Is your concern about they have to look as good as possible? Is your concern is I need to get these done sort of quickly so I can get more things done? And you know, or you know, what once you've determined that, that kind of steers the ship as far as how your hobby progress goes, I think. Let's see here. A Minoc reference just made my morning. Womprats may be to blame as well. I mean, sure, yeah. I use OBS, but it's nowhere near bulletproof. No, it hasn't done it for a while, knock on wood. But OBS every once in a great while is just like, yeah, we're not going to pay attention to your audio interface anymore. Like midstream, you'll be talking and it'd be fine, and all of a sudden everyone in the chat's like, can't hear you, can't hear, and then I have to literally go over to OBS, tell it to disconnect the audio, reconnect the audio, and that fixes it. It is not, as far as I can tell, the audio interface's fault. It is something on OBS. I could be wrong, I guess, but it doesn't seem like it. Yeah. So anyway, but maybe a hot take: Hereticus is the weakest Eisenhorn book. Doesn't hold a candle to the first two. Endings are hard, that I get that. Adepticon preview dropped. Anything lighting a fire for you? Are you teaching or running anything? I am not teaching or running anything, though. We will probably, I gotta reach out to Hank, and because we're gonna want to have a night kind of like we did this year at Adepticon. I think it was on Friday night. We ran demos upstairs in one of the rooms off of the main kind of like open gaming area, and we ran demos of Reign in Hell. And this year we're going to want to run demos of Reign in Hell and Space Station Zero, and have like a little kind of thing there and whatnot. So yeah, I need to reach out to Hank about that and get that kind of figured out. It wouldn't be something necessarily in the, how am I trying to say this? We weren't planning on having it necessarily, well, I don't know. I guess it's possible it could be in the event thing, but it's kind of, I think, too late to be in the event thing at this point, which is fine. But yeah, we definitely want to let people know about it and all that kind of stuff. So that's about it. Otherwise, I'm not teaching any classes. Maybe next year. I don't know. I don't know what I would teach these days. Maybe some stuff, but it's been a while since I've taught. And I haven't looked at the preview yet, so I don't really have any idea what's going on in there. But I'm just really looking forward to Adepticon, of course. It's always a lot of fun. I'm kind of scared for a 40K series, as the moment a female character enters the screen, some basement dwellers might freak out. Yep, that will happen. Absolutely. Storm of Iron literally is the best feel for a Space Marine movie, but Bad Space Marines, Brothers of the Snake, I haven't read either of those. Good morning from Quebec. What do you think of the new Battletech box, Alpha Strike? Have you tried that yet? I saw the box at Gen Con, and I was like, oh, cool. How much is this? And they're like, well, we sold them all out yesterday. We don't have any more. So that's the best I got. I did at Nova Open, later that month, end of August, in DC, I played a game made by Ash Barker from Guerrilla Miniature Games and published by, hey Diesel, published by Death Ray Designs, called Steel Rift, which is also a mech game. And I like the mechs a lot, and also the entire rule book is only 36 pages, which is kind of up my alley. Also, Vince and I got to do a demo of it, and we enjoyed it. So I have a whole bunch of that stuff, and I kind of see that being the direction I'm going in, mech-wise, is most likely the case. You ever use Streamlabs? No. I use I use OBS on my Twitch stream downstairs, but it's not the Streamlabs version. It's the Stream Elements version. So the Streamlabs version is like a total kind of like skin on top of it, from what I know. Whereas the Stream Elements version is literally like a plugin that kind of goes in there that allows it to work with Stream Elements just a little bit better, but otherwise it's basically just base OBS. And it's worked out real well for me. I'm wary of Streamlabs, frankly, but I have to stop myself from going back and improving old paint jobs when I've got a mountain of stuff on the go. As an artist, you tend to see every flaw and how you could have done better, especially once you take a photo of it. That's when you just really start to see the flaws. Have you ever tried Star Wars Legion? Yeah, I have. I've done a demo of it, and I have a fully painted 800-point force of stormtroopers and whatnot. Death Troopers, Krennic, Veers, they're technically called snow troopers, but all my stuff is a desert theme, so they are hazardous environment troopers in my mind. yeah, but like over the course of the pandemic, I got that list, that all that stuff done and painted and everything ready to go, and then the people in my local area kind of stopped playing it, so I haven't really played it too much, which is, I guess, the way it works. Let's see. Emily, how you doing? Much love to you and Emily and the whole Yesesco pack. Yeah, we're doing okay. My Emily is, like I said, out. She's substituting for a friend of hers, bell choir. So she's out there doing that. So not playing the cello. Therefore, Nick is still here, which is probably good that she's not playing the cello today, because she couldn't get the trunk on her car open because it was frozen. So, and it would have been very difficult to get Nick to the gig. Panny, how you doing? A bunch of UK Nordic Weasel solo games fans are arranging a mini convention for February in Sheffield, hoping to get some co-op play amid the beers. Well, that sounds cool. I think it's neat when you get like a small indie, like an indie company like that. I mean, and Nordic Weasel's made a bunch of games, so there's a lot of stuff to choose from. So, and they've been doing it for quite some time, so that's very cool. So yeah, it's very cool that people can kind of get together on that and kind of make their own little mini convention, get together someplace. That's cool. Mecha-wise, check out Nordic Weasel's Weasel Tech for solo adventure mech gaming. Sure. Just jumped on and heard Mex mention what game was being talked about. It's a game called Steel Rift, and it's made by, it's written by Ash Barker, who has a YouTube channel here, a good sized one, called Gorilla Miniature Games, and not Gorilla like the primate, but Gorilla like the freedom fighter, I guess. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, and he's written a bunch of different games. He did some stuff for Osprey, Last Days, which is like a zombie one. He did a game called Gamma Wolves, which was also a mech game, but sort of slightly larger scale. And now he's working with Death Ray Designs. Death Ray Designs makes a lot of like laser cut MDF and stuff like that. And now they're publishing this game called Steel Rift. And if you go to Ash's channel, Gorilla Miniature Games, you can see actually a bunch of different battle reports for Steel Rift. But it's a cool game. Vince and I got a demo of it at the Nova Open in DC back in late August or potentially early September. The convention straddled the 2 months. And we enjoyed it. I picked up a bunch of the stuff and came home with it. And like I said, the entire book is like 36 pages, and that includes the cover, so it's like more like 34, and there's a little bit of fluff. And so, yeah. I think my biggest issue these days with BattleTech is there's just too much. There's just the books, like even Alpha Strike, which is supposed to be the simpler version, that book is still 1.5 inches thick. You know what I mean? And I know, I'm sure it's because there's other things in there, but I'm looking for stripped down games these days. I guess that's what my interest is in generally a little bit more stripped down games. So yeah. So anyway, that's like I said, I've got mechs, I've got some buildings, I've got the instructions and all that kind of stuff for Steel Rift, and it's pretty cool. Let's see here. Steel Rift looks wicked, and having watched a bunch of Ash's videos on it has sold me. Nice. It's been a while since I caught you, since you changed the Sunday stream. I hope that you, your wife, and mom are doing great. Everyone's doing pretty okay. Yep. Yeah, the stream's been kind of hopping around a little bit just because of travel and now the holidays. I had thought for a hot second about trying to do an every other Sunday show from Vince's place last weekend when I was there, because then it would be like Vince could be on there, Sam could have been on there, Miniac, Ninja, we were all there. But it just seemed like we didn't, I don't know, it didn't seem like a good idea. And then the problem would have been, if I would have done it last weekend, then the next every other Sunday show would have been on Christmas Day, which is unlikely. And so I just thought, let's move it to the 18th, then we can jump over Christmas Day, and the next one will be on New Year's Day. I'm fine doing a stream on New Year's Day. That's not a problem. But Christmas Day, we got stuff going on with family and all that kind of stuff, and probably many of you do as well. Are you looking forward to anything in particular for 2023? Personally, I'm hoping for New Mordheim. If Old World launches in 2023. Do we know that Old World's going to launch in 2023? I'm dubious, but maybe it will, but I'm dubious. Especially since, well, the cynic in me says it won't happen in 2023 because new 40K is going to come out in 2023. So they probably want to save Old World maybe to 2024. Although that would probably put it out with the new version. 2024 will probably be the new version of 2024 will either be it will probably be the new version of Age of Sigmar, which would be Age of Sigmar 4, and also probably Kill Team. And you're like, there's not going to be a new Kill Team in 2024? Yeah, there will be. I bet you there will be. So, yeah, I don't know. If they've said definitely Old World's coming out in 2023, then I don't suspect they're lying. But if they haven't said, then I'm not assuming it's going to come out this year. Let's see here. I last seriously played BattleTech in the late 90s and early 2000s. The way the boxes and books are released now are confusing to me. Alpha Strike easy BattleTech? It's supposed to be. Like, you don't have like a big 8.5 by 11 sheet with like double-sided with all the little dots and the circles and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it is supposed to be easier. The thing is that I found that a lot of people who play Alpha Strike are like, cool, now I can just run so many more mechs on my team, and I'm like, don't want to do that. I want to, you know, but yeah. Steel Rift is definitely a game for kit bashers and modelers. Tons of optional weapons in the 2-player starter. Yeah, there is a lot of little plastic because it's all 3D printed stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like it's not. I don't know if they sell the STL files, but they do 3D print stuff, and then you buy that, and it's you. If you don't have a printer, you're like, cool, I still have these little bits. You know, it's great. But I think they may also sell STLs, but I don't know if they do or not. Do you have any tips on finding playtesters for a solo or co-op game? I have refined the rules and tested, but would like to get more feedback. Playtesters, I mean, maybe try your local store, your local game store, and see if people are interested there. That's just a location thing, you know. I suppose you could try it with using something like Tabletop Simulator or whatever, you know, online if you're looking for people that way, maybe through a Discord or something like that. But yeah, it's best if you can to get local people potentially, but yeah, it depends if what your access is, you know. Let's see here. Advice for keeping the cats away from the Christmas tree. I don't have a Christmas tree. We haven't had a Christmas tree in years. We just don't. I'm not a big Christmas fan, so that's part of it. Also, for cats, yeah, they're gonna be like, this is awesome. I'm gonna totally climb that, and that is problematic. Any timeline for Snarling Badger merch? This upcoming year, and sooner versus later. Would you recommend Warcry Red Harvest for a new player? It's significantly cheaper than Heart of Gur. Do you think I'd be missing much from the new edition? The thing you'd be missing from the new edition, which is sort of nice but not a requirement, is the reactions. So if you just wanted to buy Red Harvest and just play those two forces against each other, I think you could probably pull it off, especially if you could find the first edition, like the, you know, Warcry 1.0, if you could find that book. So if you could find that book someplace, which I'm sure you'll be able to find on eBay, because there'll be a bunch of people probably trying to sell it because now 2.0. Like if you wanted to stay at 1.0, you could just play those two forces, use the stats that are in the box, play them against each other on the terrain, on the board, all that stuff, you'd be fine. If you're like, yeah, but I want to start playing with new forces and doing this and all, then the points, like, it's not that the old stat cards and the new stat cards, for example, stat blocks, are not compatible with each other. They are. It's just that points have been updated and things like that, and also some stats have been updated as well in the 2.0 version. So I don't know if the 1.0 version would be balanced as well as the 2.0 version. It's hard to say. But again, if you were like taking it more of like this is a complete game that I'm just playing these two forces on this terrain together, yeah, that would be fine. But if you wanted to get into the bigger kind of, you know, Warcry thing, then you probably need to pick up the Warcry, you know, core book, the new one. The compendium, you can download all of it for free for Warcry 2. So that's pretty nice. So you don't have to mess around with that too much. So that's stuff to look into. The fact that the compendium is free is really great. I strongly believe that was not their original intention. They got kind of backed into a corner because they didn't think the books were going to show up when they thought they were going to. So they ended up having to release it all for free, and then the books showed up earlier than they thought. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So I think that if those books had just been gotten to the place they needed to get to on time, we wouldn't see those PDFs out there. We wouldn't have seen that stuff released early. But we'll see. Ever play Bolt Action? Me and my buddy have gotten pretty into it recently. Did I ever do a demo of Bolt Action? I've watched a bunch of battle reports, and to me, at the time when I first saw it, I was like, this is basically 5th edition 40K. I mean, there's little tweaks here and there and stuff like that, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I love the reach into the bag and pull out the dice mechanic. I'm more interested, frankly, though, in Conflict 47, which is basically Bolt Action, but like weird World War II. That's more my interest. And I own stuff for that, but then there's not anybody around here who's playing it, unfortunately, so there's that too. Let's see here. Why did Old World die again? Was it stagnant lore or wiping out mini lines? From what I understand, Warhammer Fantasy was selling really poorly. So they decided they had to kind of rip off the Band-Aid and start something new, and that's when they started with Age of Sigmar. So that's what they did. And now Age of Sigmar has been selling great, but like, I think when, like, whatever the last edition of Warhammer Fantasy was, I've heard the number thrown around that, like, Warhammer Fantasy was only 15 to 18% total sales for all of Games Workshop. But yet they were putting tons and tons, like they had an entire team working on it, but the sales were so crap that they were finally like, look, we got to make a big change here. And that's when they did the end times and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, you got your Age of Sigmar stuff, from what I understand. So, from what I now understand, the reason they're bringing back the Old World is it's basically like Horus Heresy. Like, you got your 40K, and then you got your 30K, aka Horus Heresy stuff, which was generally, for the most part, all Forge World. But then eventually they started coming out with some plastics for it. Obviously, they came out with that plastic, that big, huge box this year. I think it was still this year, wasn't it? For the Old World, I feel like it's going to be the same type of thing, but we'll see. I mean, they may, just because of the way they do things now, they may come out with a big starter box, but I think that most of the rest of the Old World stuff will probably be Forge World. I could be wrong, though. We'll see. I'm still doubtful that New Mordheim ever shows up, even if Old World shows up. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be smart of them to try to make a New Mordheim. And I made a video about this a couple of years ago. I don't know how they'll do it. I've got some ideas. I don't know, though. Let's see here. 2023 is the 40th anniversary of Warhammer's original release. That sounds like a good time to release the Old World to me. Well, maybe. Hey, Roan, how you doing? Power just came back on. What did I miss? Well, I had a internet stoppage, well, I don't even think it was an internet stoppage, because like I said, I picked up my phone and I immediately went to speed test and everything was fine, because we recently switched providers. We went from our local cable internet, which was okay, and now I'm on fiber through AT&T, and it's been spectacular, and it's like slightly cheaper, which is awesome. Yeah, I think it was something. I think the XSplit choked. I don't know. I mean, it could have been a YouTube thing, I guess, but I'm going to blame XSplit before I blame anything else. So we'll see how that works out. I mean, it still says that started streaming 57 minutes ago. I don't think that it's... hopefully it didn't start a new, file or whatever. It's probably fine. We'll see. Very happy to see Wargames Atlantic STL showing up on Only Games. It did result in a sore wallet. I don't think I'm familiar with Only Games. I should check that out. Warcry rules and compendium free online. Warcry, the very basic core rules are available free online. You get 26 pages of a 160-page core book. So the very, very basic, like, this is how the game is kind of played. Yeah. But a lot of people, like when I talked recently about Sundered Fate, about how you got to buy the book and the book doesn't come in it, there's a lot of people in the comments who are like, well, you can download the book for free. You can't. You can't actually download the book for free. You can download 26 pages of that book, which is kind of the core rule stuff, but all the rest of the stuff in the book, and admittedly, a bunch of it's fluff, and who cares? Not me. People do, not me, though. But there's also a lot of it is the campaign stuff and like the extended stuff and like the missions and all kinds of things like that. Now, again, Sundered Fate, like many of them, comes with cards, so you can kind of, I don't want to say procedurally generate, but you can generate a mission and that kind of stuff, but it's not quite the same. I don't want people to download this thing and go, well, this is the rules, and then go, well, this is kind of anemic, isn't it? Because it's, again, the core rule book that you pay $50 for or whatever is like 160, 170 pages, and that PDF that is the basic core rules, which they don't really put, like you have to kind of do a Google search for it. It's not like on the Warcry website anywhere that I can see, at least not, well, maybe it is on the Warcry, but it's not on the GW website. If you go to a Warcry thing, it doesn't go, oh, here, and download the rules for free, because they want you to buy the rules, obviously. But they can say, well, we've got the rules out there for free. Well, you have a portion of the rules out there for free. Just like, oh, the rules for 40K are free. Well, like, again, like a 16 or 20 or 24 page, like, little PDF, that part is free. And honestly, it makes sense because you get to look at the rules and go, oh, that's how stuff works. And then you decide whether you want to buy the book or not. But if you just are like, I'm just going to use this and play the game, you're missing kind of stuff, you know, a lot, especially the campaign stuff and all that kind of jazz. So, yeah. Monument Hobbies has a new commercial, which has been playing on YouTube. Have you seen it? Oh, for their bag? The Evo bag or whatever? I think I saw something about an Evo bag. Yeah, like a couple days ago, I think I saw something about it. Not watched any Warcry bat reps since reactions were added. Could you explain how they work and what they bring to the game? So when you get, let's say, attacked, it's not your turn. Someone's attacking you. It's their turn. If the model that's being attacked has not acted yet, or at least has any activations left, every model gets 2 activations, right? Or 2 actions within their activation. Let's say it that way. You get 2 actions. So you could like move and move, or you could move and attack, or you could attack and attack, or there's all, you know. But if you haven't activated yet, if I'm attacking you and you haven't activated yet, you can choose to make a reaction, right? So you'll use one of your upcoming actions in this turn to do a thing. The standard reaction, I forget what it's called, but basically as you attack me, if you miss, you take a point of damage. Like for every, like if you have to roll 4 dice because you get 4 attacks, any misses do a point of damage to you. Not, you know, like if you hit me, you do damage to me, but if you miss, you do damage to yourself. Or actually, I guess technically I'm doing the damage back to you. It's like a parry or something like that. And if you critical miss, aka you roll a 1, you do 2 damage to yourself per each one of those. So, but what that does is then when it's now that figure, when this figure who did the reaction, when it's their turn to go later on in the turn, they can't move and move now because they have a little token next to them that instead of having the little cross next to it, the little red like X, it has a red slash, meaning they only have that they have 1 action left, not both actions gone, but that 1 action is gone, and that means they have 1 left. So if you are a person who's attacking someone, if you're attacking somebody who's already activated this turn completely, like they did their thing, they moved, or they moved and attacked, and now you attack them, they can't react because they don't have any actions left in this turn. So it's all about this turn. And so there are like, I think 2 or 3 like universal reactions that everybody has, but then each faction usually has, I think, a separate like custom reaction that they get to do that is supposed to add flavor to their people or whatever. Like the ghosts do one thing and the Skaven do another thing and blah, 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 and whatever. So it's cool because it's giving you as the person whose turn it is not a little bit more agency and go, well, but it also gives some, like it gives a plan to the people who are attacking, because you're like, if I attack this guy, he might react, but this guy already moved. So if I attack him, or he's already activated, he can't, you know, react because he doesn't have any actions left this turn. So it adds this extra layer of kind of like strategy, but without like adding a whole bunch of complexity. And again, if you're using the tokens right and stuff like that, it's very easy to spot and go, that guy's already activated, that guy hasn't, this guy, because the thing is, you can react twice. Like someone might do a thing to you and you react, and then another person might do another thing to that person, and you still technically have a reaction again, so you could do that. I don't think you can react twice in a single turn. I don't think so. But Well, maybe you can. I actually haven't looked at it really close enough, but yeah, it's been fun. We've been playing it. It's added a nice little layer of complexity, or extra little layer of less complexity of strategy without adding too much complexity, because it's basically just another action. It's just, it gets to happen on when it's not your turn. We have 4 cats. We gave up on yes, 4 cats. I thought I said forecast for a second there, but no. We have 4 cats. We gave up on a tree. The first 3 cats were fine, no issues. The 4th cat, when she showed up, started running squirrel laps through it, and one of the previous 3. Yeah, it's just not a thing. We go over to my in-laws, and they have a tree, and so we go, hey, look at the tree, and that's fine for me. I only have 1 cat. She's pretty much too fat and lazy to mess up such a tree now, but when she was younger, it was a different story, sure. Waffles Enjoyer says that Weird World War I is cooler than, or is better, is greater than Weird World War II. The Weird World War I game that I'm really looking forward to, I mean, own it. Hang on. It's right here. The Last War. This is, what's this? Forbidden Psalm. So Forbidden Psalm was the first game here by KRD Designs. I think it's KRD Designs. Yeah, KRD Designs. So Forbidden Psalm was based off of Morkborg, which is a popular RPG kind of indie thing that's been going on for a while. And it's fantasy, and it's all kind of weird and stuff like that. This is the World War I, kind of weird World War I version called The Last War. You can also get this as a PDF if you want on Wargame Vault. And then now there's a new one that's out. You can get the PDF, I think, on Wargame Vault. The book is not yet available, the hardcover, for this new one. And that one is Cyberpunk, and it's called Kill Sample Process. But they're all basically based off the same kind of Forbidden Psalm game. And this is, again, it's a pretty thin little book and whatnot, but it's designed to be played. You can play it adversarial if you want, but it's also designed to be played solo and co-op if you want to. But like, it's all the stuff. And basically it's World War I, but like everybody lost basically, and so it's just a lot of scavengers left, and there's haunted tanks and giant trench maggots and sentient clouds of mustard gas and all kinds of stuff like that. And you play it on a 2 foot by 2 foot, which I like for some reason as well. And so yeah, I've actually got models that I'm starting to work on for it, and I've got some tanks that I bought from Gaddis Games. It's a couple of World War I tanks that I'm going to use in that. I've even started building some terrain, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Oops, everything moved. Let's see here. How does the Mordheim video game compare to the way the tabletop game unfolds? I think I only played it like once, so it's different. Just like, like Blood Bowl has got similarities with the tabletop, but the video game is different. It's not the same. Let's see here. I think the 2 biggest things that hurt old world Warhammer are 2 in-house games, 40K and Lord of the Rings strategy game. Mortal Realms are vast enough for another Mordheim. I think it would be fun to make a Mordheim with Age of Sigmar stuff. I know that some people would lose their lunch. They would not like it. Jim Crimmins, how you doing? Wish we could get fiber here. Our local providers ran fiber, but it's only available for businesses. Well, that's a bummer. Sorry, I missed the intro. So what are your predictions for Christmas in 2023? Oh, I don't really have predictions. I'm not good at that. Hoping for more colors in Army Painter's speed paint line for the new year. I think I heard that that's what they're doing, because I think they're reformulating, but I'm pretty sure they're adding new colors too. I think Dana Howell has been doing videos about that, hasn't she? I believe so. More skin tones and paints that do not require mixing would be lovely. I'm all about Zenithal priming, thanks to you. I'm a big fan of it myself. Yeah, I think that's the plan, is that the speed paints are going to be getting a bit of a reformulation, maybe? I think that's what I've heard. But for sure, I believe they're adding new colors. I think they'd be silly not to, honestly. Very interested to see what 10th edition is going to look like. 8th and 9th are honestly just too rules heavy for me. 8th was good. I liked 8th. I'm still not going to play 40k anymore, mainly just because I'm not interested in having such a big army game. Even Combat Patrol is a little big. Not terrible. But still, I just prefer small skirmish these days. That's my jam. So even Combat Patrol, like, yeah, you can still maybe get away with like less than 20 models, but I don't know. It's hard to say. But the style of having to move everything in squads and do all that kind of stuff, I'm just not interested in that. I want my little people to be able to move separately and do their own thing. And so that's why I prefer games like Warcry, and that's why I also prefer games like a lot of the other stuff that I'm talking about, including, you know, Last War and all that kind of stuff, Stargrave, Space Weirdos, all that kind of jazz. So, yeah, so that's the thing. But 9th really got surprisingly thick, and I have a suspicion 10th is going to head back towards like what 8th was like. So we'll see how it's going to work. Good news for you. They are working on more paints and got a crew of content creators assembled to help them out. Dana Howell, Ninja among them, and they wanted skin tones. Yep, makes sense. Only games print and ship resin from STLs. They have the OPR range, etc., UK based, but also everywhere else. Oh, that's pretty cool. I get you. Okay. So it's not just like a place like My Mini Factory where you buy STLs. It is like literally like you go there and say, I want that model, and they print it and send it to you if you don't have a printer. That's pretty cool. From what I understand, there's like, you can do that as well with the new, on Twitch right now, I've been doing this stuff for Turnip 28. I've been doing a sponsored stream for Turnip 28 because they've got this new line. They've got a Kickstarter right now of this new line of Turnip 28 STLs. But if you don't have a printer, they also have, I think, a thing in there where you can say, you know, hey, print these models and send them to me, that kind of thing. I believe there's I'm pretty sure there's a tier for that as well, which is pretty cool. They've been cool models. I've been really enjoying painting them. I'm building Infinity miniatures, and I'm quickly realizing I hate metal minis. Any tips? No, I kind of hate metal minis too. I mean, if they're like 1 or 2, maybe 3 pieces, it's okay as long as they're like, I think, intelligently done. But, and Lord knows, Infinity has gotten better, because when I built my first Infinity model back in like 2011 or 2012, I think it had 16 parts, maybe 12 to 16 parts. It was a lot of little tiny parts, and I nearly died. Yeah, it was no great. It was no good. Nowadays, most of the Infinity models are fewer parts by a good deal. You see a lot of Infinity models that are 3 parts and that kind of stuff. So that's cool. But yeah, I have a hard time working with metal these days, and I think it's partially just because of the weight and the glue joins and that kind of stuff. I know there's a lot of people that like metal models. I am not one of them these days. Steel Rift does look cool. One more temptation to gear up for Adepticon, as if Gaslands? No, I said Gafflands? No, Gaslands is what I read, but I said Gafflands, which is a total different thing. And Blood Bowl were not temptation enough. Got to figure out how a way to warm up the hobby space in the basement. Yeah, tell me about it. The basement's chilly. God, some days on Fridays, especially when I get done streaming and I come upstairs and I feed Diesel and all that kind of stuff after streaming in the basement for like 3 hours. Like I wake up, you know, answer emails, look at comments and stuff like that, because it's a Friday morning and the video's dropped, and then I go down there and I stream from 10 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon, and I come upstairs and I just have a hard time getting warm because I've been just sitting, you know, on a stool for 3 hours and it's chilly. Let's see here. I guess I'll be saving up to buy a big set online when they become available to order online. Nice. If I play 40k again, it'll either be 2nd or 3rd editions. Got enough codexes and rule books to outfit a couple of interested parties. Nice. In my opinion, the free Warcry rules are more complete than the free 40k or Kill Team rules. With a battle plan deck like the one in Sundered Fate, you can play fully featured regular games. The deck does help a lot, for sure. For sure. Brings in a similar mechanic as to Kill Team, where you can have damage down to you on your attack. Different method, same result. Kind of, a little bit. Let's see here. How are you liking your Skaven warband for Warcry? I'm thinking about putting together a group of Ratmen myself. So I have 2 Skaven warbands. I still very much love my Plague Monks. Those are probably almost my favorites, I think. Did you see the space? Let's see. Did you see the Star Wars Legion rules change? New line of sight rules and the ability to pass one of your turns. Not sure how invested in the game you are. Not super invested, unfortunately. I see that they keep changing the rules and stuff like that, and I see a bunch of complaints online about it. And number one, it makes me glad that I don't play competitively. But I got to be honest, it's making me much less interested to play just because they keep changing the rules so much that I'm just like, I don't know. Like I said, people in my area are not playing it like they used to. Like when I was originally painting and getting ready, there was a lot of games of it going on, and now not. So I don't know. I bought a lot of stuff for it. I should probably sell it, is what I should do. If that's what they want to do over there at Atomic Mass, then that's where I'm at. Have you found a good source for World War I minis for Last War? Wargames Atlantic has a set of World War I Germans and a set of World War I French that I picked up both of those, and I'm using those as like a basis. I'm going to kit bash kind of from there, kind of along almost like the Turnip 28 sort of thing, where everyone just gets real covered in mud and whatnot, maybe make some tweaks. But that's where I'm going to probably start, yeah. Those 2 kits I think are pretty good kits. I mean, so much of the stuff from Wargames Atlantic is spectacular because you get like, you buy a box that's maybe got like 20 or 30 like people that you can make in it, but it comes with like 100 heads. Like you're going to have so many bits from now on. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. It's kind of like the Stargrave boxes. They're not the same company, but like the Stargrave boxes, the Frostgrave boxes, that kind of stuff. I'm super glad to hear. So they announced that maybe a month ago, maybe a bit less, Wargames Atlantic is going to be working with this company called Zombie Smith Games. And Zombie Smith for years has been making this game called This Quars War. And the Quars are like these weird little kind of like, they almost kind of look like cartoon bipedal anteaters. And it's kind of a World War I-ish kind of game, but it's just these Quars that are fighting against each other. And it's always been really interesting artwork, and they've made some really cool books for it. And they've made models in the past, but they've been metal and sometimes a little hard to work with. Well, they're now working with Wargames Atlantic, and they're going to be making plastic Quar, like 28 millimeter plastic Quar. And I'm super excited about that because I've always really enjoyed that. But having I bought a bunch of stuff when I was at Las Vegas Open, I don't know, 2018 maybe, and then I came home and started trying to build it, and then the main problem was that the heads just were like kind of like glued into a neck hole, and just trying to get like super glue to glue metal to metal like that without actually pinning every neck, and the tiny little heads, and it was just like, ugh, plastics are going to make it so much better. So I'm interested in that quite a bit too. It's kind of indie, but that's sort of what I'm into. But that's coming, I guess, I think this year is that stuff. So yeah, I'm very happy with what Wargame Atlantic is doing. Let's see here. Whoops. Everything scrolled. What's the book called again? This one? It's called The Last War. Forbidden Psalm, The Last War is what it says here on the spine. And it's but you can get, so if you wanted the hardcover book, it's not cheap. Like, it's a pretty thin little book, and it's $40. So, I did the Kickstarter, so it was a thing. But you can go to this, there's this website called Exalted Funeral. And Exalted Funeral sells this and lots of other types of games, and they're predominantly physical copies. But if you go to Wargame Vault, you can get the PDF of this for like, I don't know, $13 or something like that. So it's also not a bad idea. Kerbal Space Program. Nope. Kill Sample Process is what the Cyberpunk version of that is. That's also now available out on Wargame Vault, but I don't think the print version's I don't think you can get the print version from Exalted Funeral yet. I don't feel any compulsion for weird wars as war games, only as RPGs. Interesting. 2x2, that is a tight board, especially with a tank on there. The tank is generally like an enemy. Like it's an AI, it's a haunted tank. So you're let's say 5 guys or whatever are trying to fight against this tank. Like it's sort of stuck in the mud in that particular, like I think there's only a couple, there's either 1 or 2 different scenarios that use the haunted tank. But yeah, it is designed to be played as a smaller kind of game, and I like that. Especially when you're playing solo, that's kind of nice too. Are you into general board games as well? No, I don't know what it is. It makes me a bad person. I'm okay with it. I don't like board games. I just don't. I don't know what it is. I don't like them. I apologize to you folks who, believed in me, but no, I've never, I take no, when I was in college, I liked board games kind of. We would play board games once in a while, but as I've gotten older, it's just not my area of interest. My wife likes board games, but we've got some friends and she'll go over to their place and play these really long, boring board games. If you've ever played any of the train games where you use the crayon, not like Ticket to Ride, but like Empire Builder, Eurorails, all that kind of stuff, where you use the little crayon to draw, I'm building tracks from place to here, and I'm going to take oranges to Detroit. And those games go on for 6 hours, and I'm like, no, not at all, not interested. So, video game Mordheim is tough to get a handle on the camera. Oh, yeah, I do remember that. The camera is squirrely. Let's see here. What scale is Forbidden Psalm? 2x2 table sounds kind of small. 28 millimeter. Yep. I mean, it's, you don't need, because it's a force of like 5 models. That's your people is 5 models. And then you've got other stuff to have, you could play it bigger, I guess, if you want to, but yeah, it's designed for a 2x2. Will you be doing another awards show before the end of the year? Yes. So I have a Why I Like It episode coming up this Friday, which is the 23rd ? Yes, the 23rd. So I have a Why I Like It video coming up this Friday. And then the 30th, because I try to do it always the last Friday of the year. Sometimes that happens to be Christmas when the calendar is squirrely, but this year the last Friday of the year is the 30th. So yeah, that's when the Tabletop Minions Awards 2022 will occur. Let's see here. Mortal Realms are also vast enough for another faction of crazy skyships. Waiting here patiently. Sure. I'm over here building stuff for the original Mordheim. The big benefit of the new old World Warhammer would be getting new minis to build warbands for the original Mordheim. I'd like to see the old Mordheim fixed. I feel like when we used to play, there were certain factions that we would all just agree no one can play that faction because it's broken. So I would like to see them fix some of that stuff. That would be fine by me. Also, I don't want square bases, but that's a personal preference. I moved from X-Wing to Kill Team very recently, and I'm pushing myself to learn to paint without speed paints the right way. Is there a thing, or am I being weird? I think you can paint however you want. I mostly paint with contrasts, aka speed paints, aka instant paints, aka dipping inks, depending on which company you talk to. That's the majority of the way I paint, and I've been doing it for a long time. I very frequently will do something known as a Zenithal Prime, or a Zenithal Highlight. Zenithal Prime is usually you prime the model black or some color very close to black, maybe a very, very dark brown if you're looking for a bit of a more warmer shift to everything, or maybe you're doing a very, very dark gray, depends on what you want to do. Then you are spraying from above with a light color, usually white, sometimes like an off-white or a bone color, depends again on what you're trying to do. So now you have this model that is shaded from like mostly like white on the tops of the head and the tops of the shoulders and stuff like that, and kind of fades down into darker, and it's darker underneath their chin and darker in their armpits and all that kind of stuff, because you sprayed the black everywhere, but the white, like I said, or the light color, you sprayed predominantly just from the top, not just straight down, but like, a cone kind of around, But now you have this, what looks like a black and white photo of a person, kind of, you know what I mean? And now you just go through and you start putting colored filters over it, aka speed paints, contrast paints, all those other things I mentioned. You know, there are going to be certain colors you're going to need to put in, like as regular opaque things, like metallics. You might do it with skin tones, depends. But don't ever think that, like, well, there's a right way to paint and a wrong way to paint. That's for sure. The way you like to paint is the best way for you to paint, just straight up. Especially when you're trying to get stuff out on the tabletop. Like, I'm going to be painting a piece for competition this year. I'm trying to, you know, do something for the Capital Palette and Nova Open in Washington, D.C. coming up in August. And I'm going to kind of paint it. Like, I'm going to try to push it real hard, but I'm going to still kind of paint the way that I paint. I'm not going to go, okay, well, I have to start off by doing everything with layering and wet blending and lots of glazing. I mean, I'm probably going to use a lot of glazing, but a lot of the other stuff, it's not going to be the case. So we'll see how it works out. But yeah, there's no, don't worry about the right way for sure. Everyone around me seems to play 40K and I'm on the fence about getting into it. If they don't play anything else and you want to play, you have two options. You either play 40K because that's what everybody else plays and they seem to refuse to play anything else, or you can get into solo stuff, which is technically, like, I guess, the third way. But the other option is to, like, and I talk about this a bunch, become a gaming advocate, meaning you like some game. Maybe it's Kill Team, maybe it's Infinity, maybe it's, who knows, something like that. And because it helps if it's a skirmish game, because then you can buy and build and paint two small forces. Skirmish games generally have small forces. So now you have two forces, and then your friends, you can be like, hey, would you be interested in learning how to play this game? You can pick either one of these forces, and I'll take the other one, and I'll teach you how to play. And then you're doing that, and that's like very low impact on their part. That seems like a really good way to do it, but it's not for everybody. If you're just like, no, I just want to build my own army and then have people to play against and not have to think about it too much, then, well, you're probably stuck playing 40K in that situation, if that's what everybody in your local area plays. So it takes a little bit of work if you want to go there. Yeah. Name of the game is Last War. What scale does it use? It's a 28 millimeter. Metal models can be such a pain in the tuchus if there's more than 3 pieces. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Only Games is a sister company in My Mini Factory. Hey, 52 Miniatures. I did not know that. That's interesting. So a lot of things on My Mini Factory can go up on the Only Games printing service. I believe they also offer custom packing for sculptors, like blister packs. Well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I should look into Only Games. That's pretty cool. I haven't heard about it. Let's see here. Try convincing them to try one-page rules. Good middle ground if you have to play 40K. Yeah, that is a benefit. Some people look at one-page rules games like Grimdark Future Firefight, Age of Fantasy Skirmish, etc., and they go, well, they're just trying to rip off 40K because they've made all these lists that directly correlate to Warhammer, armies. And I don't know if I see it that way. I think the benefit is they're like, look, if you already have these models, but the game is annoying to you, you don't have to do anything other than download these rules, and you can just move these people over kind of whole cloth. And I get that. But they also do have, there are some forces in there where I'm like, I don't think that this is a 40K force. And they're starting to do more of that, where they're adding in new forces, and then they're making models for those forces through their STL thing. So it's a smart move. I mean, I'm going to be perfectly frank with you. It's the same type of thing that I do a little bit here. I talk about Warhammer stuff because it's the big 800-pound gorilla, and I do play Warcry and stuff like that. But I'm still going to talk about things like, the Horus Heresy box and this and that and all that kind of jazz. And that's also partially because that's what people click on. You do it because it's popular, and then if you want people to come and click on it, you do that. But then every once in a while you sneak in talking about something like Space Weirdos or Zona Alpha or whatever, companies that Wargames Atlantic, like all this kind of stuff. It's if I only ever talked about indie stuff and completely didn't talk about Warhammer at all, it would be hard to get people on board. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you were starting that way. Like, I've been doing this for a while. If I decided, nope, I'm not doing any more Warhammer, I would see viewership drop, but there would still be some folks that had been watching me for a while that would probably still watch my stuff or whatever, and that's cool. But it's just kind of the strategy that you sort of need at this point, And like I said, it would be almost silly to not talk about Warhammer. Again, they're the biggest portion of the industry. And like I said, I still do like to play, well, at least Warcry for the most part. So yeah, but it makes sense from a one-page rules standpoint where they're like, look, we made robot overlords, aka Necrons. We made machine cult, aka Adeptus Mechanicus. But then they'd be like, and then we made these jackals, and you're like, well, what are those guys supposed to be? Like, just are these models that we made also that you can buy and download and then print, and then we just made our own force so that you could add those into the thing. And if they just keep doing that over time, eventually they could be like, yeah, we got a bunch of 40K stuff over here, but we've also got our whole entire world over here that we've been doing as well. And you can kind of expand that way. I think it's a super smart move, frankly. A model only being in metal would be a deal breaker for me now. I'll end up looking for an STL proxy if I could, that I could bring. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, again, if it's a metal model and it is one piece, maybe two if it's done well, like it's easy to glue or it's got some sort of support to it in some fashion or something like that, or it's not like, oh, there's this big part of the model that's hanging off and I'm like, no, I got to pin it and go through all that, rigmarole. Then yeah, but if it's like several parts and it looks like I'm going to have to pin it, I'm less likely to be interested these days for sure. Get an electric space heater with a built-in fan and put it in front of you. I survived the coldest winters this way in my garage. I think I have I have kind of a space heater. It's, my concern is partially also like the noise. I'd have to find one that like was very quiet because otherwise it'll make noise on the mic while I'm streaming and stuff like that. Our furnaces in our basement just need a small heater in the paint room since it's a bit closed out. See, our furnace is in the basement too, but then it vents it and it goes in and heat rises and stuff like that. There is like, I think there's maybe only one vent that actually goes into the basement. That could be part of the problem. And in the summer, I close that vent because the basement stays pretty cool and I don't need any more air conditioning going down into the basement because it's already pretty cool. So that air conditioning can go elsewhere. My basement is 65 degrees year round and almost dry as a bone. Mine is 65-ish, 70-ish at the worst in the summer. Not always dry as a bone. If it rains, we sometimes get a little bit of a trickle. In the winter, it's usually like right now, if I looked, I bet it's probably 58 down there. So that's just a little bit less than I would like. I also got the North Star Gaslands sprue. I'm slowly been using bits for various builds, and they're excellent combination. Yeah, that North Star Gaslands sprue thing is really good. It's super, super good if you're trying to build that kind of stuff. You don't have to like board games. You have many other fine qualities. I appreciate that, Emily. I live in Australia. What is a basement? Where are we at? Okay. Let's see here. Where was I? We got lucky. The house we bought has a very well-made, dry, finished basement. Yeah, our basement's not finished, and I'm okay with that. I got too many friends who've got finished basements that I've had to help take like the carpet out of because it got wet because at some point it rained for like a month or something like that, and then even with the sump pump, maybe still there was some sort of problem. So I had friends be like, hey, you gonna finish your basement when you buy the house? I'm like, no, I'm gonna leave it basement-y, and then that way I shouldn't have to lug out as much. Like I've had friends who've like studs and drywall and the whole deal, and then they get 2 feet of water in their basement. Now they got to cut 3 feet of the studs and the drywall all the way around the basement, replace all of that, and yeah, it's no fun. Wargames Atlantic also have World War I British coming soon. Nice. That's pretty cool. North Star Miniatures does the Stargrave and the Frostgrave stuff. It's great value. Yeah, I agree. Uncle Adam has gone so indie, he'll be raiding Lost Arks soon. I get that reference. Check out Mad Robot, located in Arizona. They have some really nice selections of World War I type minis and a wide selection of heads to mix and match. Neat. Let's see here. Azotharian, how you doing? Kerbal Space Program skirmish game for the win. Maybe. Just getting in from Springfield, Illinois, gearing up to go play some Gunfighters Ball at my father-in-law's. Merry Christmas. Well, that sounds like fun. Does Hero Quest count? I don't think I've ever played Hero Quest. Board games are awesome, but different strokes, as they say. I've been enjoying board games more than mini games recently. Yeah, like I said, I don't know what it is, but it's never really struck me as much as I would like. Oranges to Detroit is now the name of my great American novel. Nice. In that game, in Empire Builder, like, it's all about building like lines that connect the cities, because each person's playing a different like train company, I guess, whatever, railroad company. And you get more money by taking stuff from places to places that are further away. So, like, obviously they're not growing any oranges in Detroit, but they do grow them in Florida. So you have to be able to build train tracks all the way from, say, Orlando or Miami or whatever, probably more Orlando, to Detroit. And then you have a train that can actually travel along there. And then, boom, there you go. And you're set. And now you make money. Whereas if you take, like, oranges from, say, Orlando to Miami, they're like, thanks, I guess, I mean, like, because they already got them. Been playing Space Station Zero with a friend once a month. We finally got to that first point of no return, and oh boy, those turrets looks like our next game. We may not survive. It is not a simple game. Well, let me take that back. It's not that it's not a simple game. It's not an easy game. Like, there is a difficulty level to it, and that is part of the idea. We talked about early on with Space Station Zero, the concept of, and if you've been playing video games and stuff for a while, you've probably heard the term roguelike. And a roguelike, from what I understand, I haven't played too many of them, but it's a situation where you're playing a game to see how far you get before you croak, and then you try again to see if you can get further, and that kind of stuff. This game has got a little tiny, just a little dash of that to some degree, because the idea is that you may not live, and then, well, okay, you can start again. And again, because it's a branching narrative, you may not get the same path, so there's replayability in that fashion as well. Our next game is not gonna, it's gonna be different. Like, it's not gonna be like, oh, I'm dead, and so therefore I gotta start over again. It's a different thing. It's got an interesting mechanic that kind of helps to mitigate that, but it's still also gonna be kind of, again, not a walk in the park, let's say. So that's pretty cool too. Still have time to get my tux to the cleaners for the award show. Same here. I want to get my little brother into the hobby scene. Had some interest in Legos when he was younger. Any suggestions on how I go about this? If you've got, well, I mean, Christmas is coming. So one thing I would look for, if you can, at your local game store, if they sell Army Painter makes a nice set of beginning like paints for $35 maybe. It's got like, there's like, white and black and a brown and like a green and a red and a yellow and a blue and etc. And there's a metallic in there. I think there's a wash in there. I think there's even a brush in there. Like I said, that set's maybe $35. That wouldn't be a bad idea. And then maybe some Reaper bones. Maybe not the white ones. I don't know if I like the white ones, but they do have a line of models now, Reaper does, called Reaper Bones Black. And from what I understand, that stuff is actually CO-cast, so it's a different type of plastic. So I think it's going to take the paint a little bit better than the white bones. The white bones can be a little hydrophobic sometimes, but that might be not a bad, an inexpensive way to kind of get started and try things out that way. So. I always felt that Mordheim square base was more of a suggestion than a law. I'd allow round bases as well. Yeah, visually, I've always preferred round bases. I don't know what it is. Let's see here. Spray paint cones to be a better painter. Sounds legit. That sounds about right. Sure. In this video, we'll be spray painting cones and miniature horses. I don't know where we're going with it, but I'm okay with it. I watch you even though you hate BattleTech. I don't hate I don't hate BattleTech. I'm just not interested in playing it. Like, I want to play a mech game. That's why I'm interested in and own now a bunch of Steel Rift. But But yeah, I'm not a big fan of games that are incredibly dense, and BattleTech is pretty dense for me. So again, dense is a relative term. But Vince and I have talked about, like, Vince loves the story, and because we both used to play BattleTech. I played more in middle school and a little bit in college, and he played, I think, relatively more recently than college. But yeah, so I don't know. It's there's a part of us, I think Vince and I someday would both kind of like to make a mech game. I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because then, like, it's a little bit harder to be model agnostic when it comes to mechs. A little bit. I mean, it's getting better because of STLs and stuff like that. But yeah, finding, whatever types of soldiers or, fantasy people, demons, space people, whatever, that kind of miniature agnostic stuff is relatively simple to do. But if you're like, well, you need miniature agnostic mechs, that's a little bit harder to do. I honestly think that was part of the issue with, because what's his name? Ash Barker did a mech game before he did Steel Rifts. He did one for Osprey Games called Gamma Wolves, and I was interested in that at first, and then I watched a battle report, and I was like, I don't know where I would source miniatures for that, because they weren't selling the miniatures. They were like, oh, he used a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I think there might have even been a little bit of Gundam in there, but like small Gundam, and I'm like, I don't know where I would get these models. And for me, that was like a thing where like, like if I'm really invested and interested in the idea, then I will really kind of like really work hard to try to figure out how to source models for it if I can. But if I'm like, this is cool, but it's going to be a real uphill climb to try to find models for it, that for me is a little bit more daunting as far as getting into the game is concerned. One of the benefits of Steel Rift is that they sell models, and so that's cool too, don't get me wrong. And one of the benefits of games like, again, Reign in Hell and Space Station Zero is you need demons, and demons can be all kinds of things, or you need space people, and space people can be all kinds of things. So, again, it's that robot squirrel conundrum. I should really write a paper. I need to get published. OPR isn't just for GW minis. You can field some forces from Mantic 2 besides the self-made minis. Yep. Like I said, smart idea. Let's see here. One page rule stuff is sort of like the 80s Remco toy models of our toys play with. Sure, I could see that. How about an electric blanket? I do have a shawl that sometimes I use in the basement. My wife made it for me. It's lovely. Space heaters make noise. If there's a fan, sometimes they do. Like if it just sits there and just radiates heat, then it's not as directed as I might like. The basement's large. Like I can't like heat the basement with a space heater. And I could try to heat near me, but usually getting it to kind of blow the air a little bit towards you is better. I don't know. You know what I kind of want is one of those old-timey, like, radiant heat. It's like a big metal dish, and it's got like a cage on the front of it so you don't burn yourself, and then you turn it on and it gets real bright on the inside, kind of orangey, and then it kind of shines the heat towards you. That would not be a bad idea. Although, well, I got that I got that green screen behind me. I don't know if that would work or not. It's probably start a fire. I miss metal minis. Never felt it was an issue to convert or repose them, but I have a background in metal crafting. Oh, well, sure. Yeah, I can see that. I wish you and everybody else in chat a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. Kids are waking up and need to start breakfast. I will catch you on the New Year's stream in your next video. Nice. Thanks, Colonel. I appreciate it. Reaper's white ones aren't white anymore in recent productions. Oh, so Bones USA is COcast, but Bones Black is better than white. See, I thought there was Bones Black was COcast, but I haven't been keeping up on Bones. But you're saying that Bones USA is COcast. Well, that makes sense. Well, I guess that would make sense because Bones USA would be made in USA, whereas I bet regular Bones are made in China. So the USA ones would be made actually at Reaper's facility because they would have some COcast machines there in the building. That does make sense. Okay. The Bones, whatever the COcast stuff is. I have a thing here. So this is, I don't even know where I got this from. This is a Bones Black, it says. I think this came in a swag bag, maybe for something. I don't know what it's a Shauna female genie sculpted by Bobby Jackson. I like Bobby Jackson. This is made in China, so this is not COcast. So yeah, Bones Black, I take that back. Bones Black is not COcast. Bones USA is COcast because it's actually made at Reaper's Place in Texas. Because I'm assuming, because that's usually what you do with COcast, is you buy the machine or a couple of them, and then you just crank stuff out. Tried Heavy Gear for a mech game years and years ago. Honestly, I played a demo of Heavy Gear at a convention in Northern Illinois, and the guy running it was such a jerk that it soured me to the entire system, which is a bummer, but you know, there it is. I did play the video games, though. There was a PC game, there was Heavy Gear and Heavy Gear 2. I played the heck out of those. I liked those. Let's see here. How beginner friendly would you say Zona Alpha is? I would say it's not crazy beginner friendly, but it's not like difficult. I mean, it's one of the Osprey Blue books. Osprey Blue books, I believe, are all 64 pages. Like, I think that's the maximum that they, like, in that particular format when they produce them. If you look at those blue books, I believe every single one of them is 64 pages. So it's not crazy deep. The one thing about Zona Alpha is you do sometimes have to make some decisions. Like, sometimes the rules will be a little squirrely and you'll just have to house rule it yourself. There'll be little places here and there where you're like, I don't know if this is what they mean, or maybe this isn't completely covered. So you have to be a little... If you're like very, very rules is written and you have to, then it may not be the best plan. But if you're okay with like, let's do it this way, then, or you know, whatever, then that's fine. And if you play solo, well, you can obviously agree with yourself, I would assume. But if you play solo, there's I think a free download on the Osprey website you need to grab to be able to do that. I don't know that solo rules are specifically in there, but the other benefit is that there's like a Facebook group about Zona Alpha and the other games that that author Patrick Todorov have written. He's written a bunch of other games now, some for Osprey, some he's self-published. They're pretty good about answering rules, and I think there's probably an FAQ on that. But there might be a Discord for it too. No matter I can think of it. But the Facebook group is I've followed the Facebook group, so yeah. I've been painting minis for my D&D players. I only have like 2 more for this group, then I need to work on the other group. Cool. Potbelly stove. Potbelly sandwiches. I don't think a potbelly stove would be a good idea down there. That's my problem with A Song of Ice and Fire. Cool game, but they release models once and then they're not available. You can't even buy plastic cards without starters, or basic cards without starters. Yeah, that is a problem. That's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the way that we're doing the Snarling Badger Studios stuff, is that, like, we had people say, well, you should really just get the books printed like in China, and then you could like you could make more money per unit, and you could do all this stuff, and then we would like, then we have to ship it, we have to store it, we have to get it manufactured, we have to go through all that stuff, and also then we would run out of books eventually, maybe, you know, like if we would have gotten a print run of 5,000 copies of Rain in Hell, we would have sold out of it in the first 4 months. Well, maybe not. First 6 months at least. Like we hit 5,000, where we hit, yeah. Because I forget about sometimes people just buy the PDF and they don't buy the print. But nonetheless, my point is we would have run out and then people have been like, hey, I can't get the book anymore. And then we have to make a decision. Do we want to print another 5,000? Is that too many? You know, are we going to be sitting on a bunch of copies or not? The print on demand stuff for us works great. So that's why I like it. But yeah, I can understand that. And especially Cool Mini or not, they're big into the Kickstarter stuff. So like, well, if you didn't do the Kickstarter, you know, that seems to be the case too. So Uncle Adam wants a Death Ray confirmed. I don't think I do. I don't know if I want a big... Death Ray sounds like... There was a comic book in which... What was it called? Transmetropolitan, where the main character had a gun that made people poop themselves. That'd be sort of funny. It's not nice, don't get me wrong, but it would be better than a Death Ray. Let's see here. Bones USA is COcast. Got it. Let's see. Beginner box BattleTech. That's a lot of fun to say. Is just a mech sheet folded in half. Only use the top half. Armor, weapons, movement, no internals or heat. Huh. Whoops, everything moved. I love the bone stuff. They are durable as hell. That's true. True. Perfect for wargame beginners. If you take a resin model, it snaps. You look at it, Reaper Bones, you can jam into the wall and be fine. Yeah, the white Reaper Bones is very, very robust for sure. It's bendy, you know, like because it's a softer kind of plastic. So yeah, you're not going to break it. That's for sure. But yeah, I definitely get that. If I had a death ray, I'd mount it on my car for smoking fools in traffic. I think that's illegal. I think. I'm just saying. You may want to check with your local municipalities. If you dislike metal miniatures, stay away from heavy gear. My gears required 6 pins each, sometimes 7, so 12 to 14 holes per model. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. I get what you're saying. If you play solo games and disagree with yourself, I think you have bigger problems than if the game works. True, very true. Any thoughts on what GW is doing with Necromunda? What's GW doing with Necromunda? I mean, they've been coming out with more stuff. Have I got any new models from Necromunda recently? I don't think I have. Maybe not in a couple of weeks. For a while, I was getting a lot of Necromunda stuff sent to me. But I don't know what they're doing with Necromunda. Still got to do a Mishkin team for Gaslands and give that Death Ray a try. Oh, well, for Gaslands, the Death Ray, sure. I get that. But not so much in the house. Or, I mean, on the streets. Or in the house. I don't want a Death Ray in the house. That's how you end up setting your house on fire. Uncle Adam wants a brown note gun. I forget what it was called. But yeah, it was this series of comic books in the day. It was like called Transmetropolitan. This guy was a journalist. He had a little bit of a, what's his name? Hunter S. Thompson sort of flair to him. He had like a shaved head. His name was like Spider something, I think. I don't know. But yeah, he had this sort of, it was like this kind of weird sort of satirical sort of future thing. But he was, like I said, a journalist. And he had this gun that he could shoot. And then they would like explosively poop themselves. So that's fun. I tend to prefer the Reaper metal minis because of the detail level. Yeah, I can see that. Uncle Adam would rather have a mildly inconvenience ray. I mean, yeah. As much as I enjoy and still love the original Necromunda, I have generally loved what they are doing with current Necromunda. I like current Spider Jerusalem. That was his name. Yep. I've generally loved what they're doing with the current Necromunda. I feel like, for me, Necromunda is a little bit too in-depth. I am hoping that they are starting to at least compress... Like, the issue was for a while, too, that, like many GW products, you needed a buttload of books to be able to properly play. And they were spreading stuff out all over the place, and it was a pain. I'm hoping that they're going to start fixing that a little bit. And I think there's been some talk about that, like the marketplace thing. They're trying to figure out, like, they're making a free PDF, or they're, because it was like only available in one book that you can't get anymore. And so you got no marketplace. If you didn't get that book initially, well, why didn't you buy that book initially? You know, that kind of thing. The old GW biscuit. So yeah, but it is still a pretty dense game, but I love the concepts of it. The models are spectacular. Like, so far, I don't know that I've seen a model they've ever made where I'm like, well, that's not very good. Some of the stuff for Forge World I've looked at and gone, but most of the stuff, like all the normal kits, like the Vansar and the Orlocks and all that jazz, I'm just like, yes to all of that. The Goliaths are a little, I don't know, just like big muscly guys. I'm like, we've done that. That's what I think I like about Necromunda, is that there's so many things we haven't done. Like the House Delak, you know, like those are amazing models, I think. A lot of that stuff. Whereas like just big, beefy, strong guys, they're basically Space Marines without their, you know, armor on. That's fine, whatever. But yeah. Great, now I'm Googling, how much does a mini horse cost? I think a lot. Let's see here. Forgeable just released a couple of Necromunda figures. Yeah. What were the ones that they were just recently talking about? There was like a guy who was like holding like a TV on a stick maybe or whatever. I remember seeing that one. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, I don't know what you would do with it, but it's kind of a cool model. But there's been also some other ones where I've been like, those Forge World ones are a little iffy. I think the weapon was called a Bowel Disruptor. That sounds pretty right, yeah. Sadly, Transmetropolitan's author turned out to be a bit of a nasty piece of work. I don't remember who the author was, but I think I remember hearing some about that. GW is making biscuits now? They might. I'm a little surprised they're not, to be honest with you. All the books has probably the only thing I didn't like. I think it's growing in a direction that might replace Inquisitor 28. That'd be kind of cool. I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Like, they keep releasing new stuff. Like, I've got a bunch of the terrain that came in Ash Wastes. I've got 2 or 3 of the pods built, maybe 2. I might have 2 of the pods and then like one of the platforms and then a bunch of the catwalks, all built, all primed, and even kind of base coated. And so we're at that point now. And what I need to do is they're on the shelf near the airbrush room. So they're base coated like a light bone color. Whatever the light tan color is from the Krylon camouflage paints, that's the color that they were all primed back when it was still warm out and you could prime for terrain. And now my plan is to use a couple of like different like lighter off whites to kind of highlight everything. And then once I get that done, then I'm going to go through and do I'm either going to then go through and use some speed paint through my airbrush to kind of filter some spots and to grunge things down a bit, or else I'm going to go through and do detail painting on stuff and then do the grunge. I haven't decided yet. Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. But I do want to make a video about that. But that terrain is very cool. I, again, probably won't use it necessarily for Necromunda, but it'll totally make sense in a lot of different types of games that I like to play. Those would work perfectly in Space Weirdos or Planet 28 or, whatever. So yeah. Warren Ellis. Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Delac got weird fast, and it was awesome. The lore drops were incredible. I mean, they've produced a lot of books, that's for sure. Reaper went from Bones White to experiment with Bones Black. It was harder but more brittle. They've been shipping their molds from China to use them in Bones USA now that it has better fidelity. Nice. Holding a TV on a stick. Back off or I'll whap you with this big old RCA. I mean, I think it was more of like a propaganda thing. It was like a TV on a stick, and then it was like showing... I don't know. It was like, because the other guy I think had like speakers that they were holding or something like that. And I think that they were supposed to be like, again, like propaganda or something like that. And I'm like, I don't understand exactly how that comes into play in a game, but maybe they have like almost like a bard where they like have like a buff, like AoE around them that helps their guys or damages the people you're fighting against or who knows what, or confuses them. I don't know. I'm loving Necromunda, but I agree the rule scattering and not having books to be standalone is frustrating as a frustrating thing. It's true. Yeah, I get you. What projects have you excited for the new year? Are these projects you would encourage people to do? I want to do more terrain. I've got a bunch of projects that actually started. I was just talking about the Ash Wastes pod thingies. And I was going to say I scratch built some stuff for the Last War, some World War I stuff. Scratch built's not the proper term. I took some old school resin like brick walls from Armorcraft? The heck is the name of that company? Maybe it's Armorcraft. I don't remember. Anyway, I've had them forever, and I took those and I put them on a piece of MDF, and I added in a floor that I made out of little wood coffee stirrers. So it's kind of scratch built, but it's got some like not scratch built parts. And that's all primed. And I want to paint that. Then I have a second one that I want to do. I think I'm going to use the second one to make a video talking about it. I want to do more videos about terrain because I've been enjoying terrain a lot lately. So I think that'd be kind of fun. My cat makes biscuits. Wish he could teach GW a thing or two about biscuit making. Cat biscuits are spectacular. Can you and Vince make a full color book as a premium option? Not really. I mean, technically, yes. we could. The company that we work with does produce color stuff. The cost would be considerably higher, like a lot higher, and also it would then cause me to have to do the layout twice, kind of, which is also not a thing we want to do. So I don't have a problem with black and white books. That's how I grew up. So, I understand that some people are like, but if this book isn't color, then it's not cool or whatever. I don't know. I don't understand it, frankly, but I understand people have different opinions. That all being said, the reason that we can produce a book that sells for $15 to $18 plus shipping is because we're doing it in black and white. Not just for the actual cost, because there's people, you're not the first person to say, well, I'd pay more for a color book. Cool. I appreciate that. But we would also have to then, I would have to then get all the artwork done in color. Like, whereas with Space Station Zero, like the only artwork that was done in color was the cover. All the rest of the pieces that we got from Will were all done in black and white, which caused them to be cheaper as well and quicker for him. And then, it was just overall a win that way. I mean, never say never. Like down the road, maybe we'll start heading in that direction once we get super fancy and become a big multi-million-dollar company, though that will probably never happen, but that's okay. We kind of like the DIY thing, so we're going to probably continue to keep doing that. We've had people also reach out and go, hey, well, I'll translate it into a different language and then you guys can whatever and all that kind of stuff. That is literally an entirely new layout because, languages are different so that you get to a point where you're like, okay, well, this paragraph is this long in English and it's either shorter or longer in a different language, which then pushes everything else down and then the page breaks are all different and it's a whole thing. So yeah, that's why we also don't see ourselves doing that. Like when a company does that kind of stuff, puts things out in multiple languages and things like that, like GW does, it's because they have an entire staff that's just their job. With Vince and I, it's just the two of us. Armorcast, that's what I meant. Yeah, Armorcast is, I've got a whole bunch of Armorcast resin that I've been sitting on, not literally, because that would be uncomfortable, but I've had a bunch of it for years and years and years and years. So yeah. Vincent and Adam are bad capitalists, and I, for one, am here for it. Yeah, it's probably going to be the way it stays. All right, well, folks, I'm going to, I got to go. I've got, it's 11 o'clock, and I've got to check on Big Diesel. And I've got to try to fix the ads on this before. YouTube's been doing some strange crap recently where it used to do like it would put an ad every 3 minutes for the first hour and then no ads afterwards. And that was annoying. And then recently on one of these videos, it just put ads every 3 minutes for the entire 2 hours. So I have to go in through and physically place the ads so it doesn't try to screw that up. So I got to make sure I do that before we go to lunch and all that stuff. So I will see you folks 2 weeks from today. It'll be the first of the year, and I hope you folks have a good holidays if you're into that whole kind of thing. And if you don't, well, I hope you have a good, end of the year. Well, we'll all go through the end of the year, whether we like it or not, hopefully. But, the holidays, if you like those, have a good time with it. And if you don't, then, do something else. So we'll see you soon. Like I said, New Year's Day is the next one of these, and we'll just keep sticking along to that until something else comes up that messes up the schedule a little bit. But I want to say again, thanks for coming and hanging around with me today, and thanks for watching.